Hello, everyone. We are live today. And guess what? Today is Thursday. Today is interview week day. Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. There was a change in time. So for us, for me at least, in Central Time, it's noontime. So just a few thoughts here. If you're joining us live, would you kindly just put or write in the comment hashtag live, or if you're joining us on the replay, hashtag replay, and tell us where you're coming from. Because I personally, as you well, lots of you know that I'm coming into you from Mexico, and my guest today is from Canada. So let me tell you how Anita Watts and I met. We actually met online, which, happens more and more every day. I wasn't born in the matrix. So for me to build relationships online, it's just so powerful. So we met online at an event called Stages. I was a participant and Anita was a sponsor. So I clicked on her information, wanted some information, and we started talking. And then she called me back and we became buddies. And so what we have in common also is that we're both from Canada. I was born in the eastern part of Canada, and she's from the western part of Canada, Alberta, Canada. We're both retired from our careers, and we're both doing online businesses. So that's what we have in common. Now, Anita's background reads like it's like this long. 2 or 3 pages. First of all, she has an MA from the University of Alberta, where she specialized in psychology, behavior, modification, and employee wellness. She also has a Bachelor of Kinesiology. It's hard for me to even say the word, where she worked with high performance specializations. She's a certified coach. She's a speaker, a facilitator, a training, an athlete. I would call her an extreme athlete. I consider myself an athlete as a runner, but she does much more than that. And she's a mom. So without further ado, let's bring Anita on and welcome Anita. Let's see. Okay. Anita, where are you? Okay, there you are.
Hello, everybody. It works.
It doesn't always work. Please forgive me. Did I say everything right? I didn't go into all of your background because it's just too long. I just picked out a few things, and you disappeared on me. So where are you?
I'm right here. Can you see me?
Internet. Here you are, back on. So forgive us.
Yeah.
The internet sometimes turns out to be unstable. Anita, I want to start with a little bit of your background. If you would talk to us about your background. And I'd like to start with, you retired from the RCMP. Would you explain to our audience, my audience, your audience now, who are mostly in the US, and she's disappeared again. We're going to wait.
Well, if I'm still going and we lost Lucy, hello, everybody. This is too funny. If there's anybody out there you want to just say hello tell us where you're coming from. The internet is an interesting thing. So I'm going to keep on chatting just in the event that we are still rolling and we are live. Lucy had asked me to tell you a little bit about where I came from, the work that I was doing prior to my entrepreneurial life as a coach and a facilitator and a speaker. I worked with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is our national police force in Canada. And when I first started with them, it was a lot of work in the area of tactical training. With my background in kinesiology, worked in the tactical training units, helped our police officers with stress inoculation, movement mechanics, their fitness testing, and a lot of the wellness stuff. Your basics, your sleep, your nutrition, and your exercise, and what needs to be done as a high performance, if you will, individual that's working in the area of the police force. So you need to be fit. and you need to be solid and strong to be able to do that type of work. As things progressed, my master's was in psychology. I started to do a lot more work in the area of stress inoculation and critical incident stress. So when we had a major incident, I would get called out to support our members and their families. So that was a lot of the work that I did when I first started too. I was on call, and when there was a need, I would be there. So a lot of conversations around trauma, a lot of conversations around mental health, psychological health, and supports in that area. So that's sort of where I came from in my world with the police force. As I progressed from the police force, I was there for 22 plus years. It was time for me to move on. I got burnt out. And I find that happens a lot with when we're in a career for a long period of time, if we're giving. And if we're in the capacity as a caregiver, whether you're an essential worker, or you're a first responder, or you're a mom, or you're actually in some sort of a capacity where you're helping people, it can get pretty intense, or it can get tiring, right? So what's important is we have something for our own self-care, some resiliency strategies to be able to keep this healthy, because we are our number one asset. And especially as an entrepreneur, it's important that we recognize, as we are our number one asset, that we need to take the time to be able to take care of that asset. So we spend a lot of money on coaches and marketing and programming and all that. But really what's important is we also take the time and spend the time and the money on ourselves as an asset for our business. So I think we'll go into a little bit more of that. And I'm sure hoping that Lucy joins us soon, because I feel like I'm talking to myself. So again, if there's anybody out there, if you want to say a quick hello.
I'm here. I'm just listening to you. Well, I'm really sorry. You know what I'm talking about?
So if that was your question, I gave it to you.
No, but you did a wonderful job, and I was thinking, but that's such a male-dominated world, that RCMP. You had to have quite some skills to be able to penetrate, and for them to. And you know what? I think I'm going to, get myself offline, because my internet is kind of weak. I'm going to try to, ask you the questions, but so I know that you retired from the RCMP. You were burnt out. That happens a lot. So, and also, it sounded like you didn't feel very fulfilled in that position. Am I correct in assuming that? I missed some of it, but.
Well, the fulfillment comes from knowing that you've made a difference.
Right.
And, interesting you asked that question, because what I noticed was the supports from upper management and the organization itself was lacking. Definitely. The psychological health and safety of the police officers wasn't necessarily in the limelight. It was kind of like a nice to have as opposed to a must have. And I mean, that's changing. It's changing for the first responder community in general. But it was really a lot about the operational, and that's where we focus our resources, was in the operational side of the house. We were losing members. Like, people were not doing okay, and they were off sick. And it wasn't necessarily physical, but it was psychological, right? So where I would get my, say, kudos, if you will, and that's not why I did what I did, was when somebody would call me up, 5 years later and say, you know what, Anita, you saved my life.
Wow.
That we did together, I just can't thank you enough for spending the time to be with me, to help me get my life back. And I can feel that, right? So, that to me was the fulfillment. And that's what continues to drive me to do the work that I'm doing now that I've left the police force. I still need to do something in this area because I am making a difference. And I have to say, like, the work that I do, I'm still saving lives. So that to me is just, that's where, I guess that's my why, if you will. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me going in this area. Yeah, it's hard work and it can be pretty intense. But at the end of the day, it's important. It's important work. And so many people are struggling nowadays. And given COVID, I have to say that COVID's really created opportunities for me, which, I mean, and it's sad in a way, but it's good in a way that people are now reaching out more and more, and we really need to reduce that stigma around mental health and help people to get the help that they need so that they can continue to thrive.
So did you have any inkling, did you have any feeling that you wanted to be a life coach? I mean, do you consider yourself a life coach, a transformational coach? What kind of coach do you consider yourself?
I consider myself a trauma-informed coach. So the majority of the work that I do is in the area of trauma. And I have to say life coach, it's a lot in the area of mental health and resiliency and mindset, if you will. But what I notice is that people are coming to me, they're in survival mode. And so knowing what I know and how I coach, a lot of it is around where people are really stuck in their trauma. They're stuck in their stress. They're stuck where they just don't know a way out. And so I see myself as that reaching hand to pull you out of the depths of whatever that is that you're in.
Chaos.
And see, chaos, really. It's from chaos to calm. And
calmness,
and people, that's what people really are looking for. It's like, I want to find joy again.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I laughed.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody's hearing me. I feel like, if you're working in an organization or whatever it is that you're doing, it's like, I'm being passed by. I used to be the chosen person. I'm not anymore.
Right.
I can't function day to day.
Right.
My mind is spinning. My thoughts are spinning. Focus to get one thing done. It's chaos, right?
It's chaos. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, can you give us some example of what type of person you help today? I mean, do you find that having worked with the RCMP that a lot of those people have followed you and want to continue with you, or do a lot of your clients come from word of mouth from these people?
A lot of it is referrals. I do work with a program through Wounded Warriors, and it's called COPE, Couples Overcoming PTSD Every Day. And what that is really is working with couples saving their marriages. Because one of the individuals has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress symptoms, and that can wreak havoc in a family. It can destroy a relationship. It can destroy your health. And it's interesting. We have these conversations. We talk about your lizard brain is taking over right now. Let's just throw the lizard in the back seat and figure out how you can drive the car without the lizard controlling, right? So a lot of the work that I do is around like how the brain works and how we can, work through those neurotransmitters. And if you want to get on the technical side of it, but it's really, it comes to the point where it's like, I don't know how to have a conversation anymore. Like,
Wow.
Like I come home and I'm numb and I'm empty, and help me out here, right?
It's interesting. Do you prefer to work with the individual, or do you prefer to work with couples? And the reason I'm asking you this is because I know a couple who had difficulty in their marriage, and in order to save her marriage, this woman did whatever she could, and they became in business together. And when they only work with one individual, which is not the normal. Usually therapists or coaches will work with the couple, and they have like 95% of success. With their people. How do you usually work?
Well, when I work with couples, we do couple and then we do some individual.
Okay.
And so I look at each one of those individuals and how does that connect with their relationship together. So I like both. I know I work with couples and I work with individuals, probably more so individuals. And I also do a lot of group work. So working within organizations who are challenged with the psychological health of their employees, and doing some programming within the organization, which incorporates group stuff. So almost like mediation when things are not working really well. So that communication side of the house, and then one-on-one. So that individual comes to the group with stuff. And so for to manage that stuff and then how they can actually interject within the organization is kind of where I come from, is what I do. So like, what do? I do a lot of stuff. So of course.
It's hard to determine exactly. That brings to mind, I know that you're a speaker and you do a lot of speaking on stages mostly, right? Could you tell me, give us a flair of some of the things that you have gotten on stage, and spoken about, and really what kind of best platform you like to speak on?
Well, it's been virtual lately, for sure.
Yes. A lot of Zoom, right?
A lot of Zoom. Who's not Zoomed out nowadays, right? Jeez.
I wish I bought the stock. Yes.
Yeah. When I speak a lot about resilience and bringing yourself from that deep, dark place to finding the light. And so, strategies around how you can continue to not just survive, but thrive. And what that looks like for a person, it really is individual. So, I'd say the topic is really a lot around self-care. And I mentioned that when you disappeared from us, that whole, you are your number one asset. So I look at a person as a whole being. And oftentimes what happens is people feel like, I'm not being heard and nobody sees what my skill set is. And there's that sort of, I'm not enough. And the confidence is really like, it's tanked. And to see where the skill set is, or see what the light is that the gift that the person has to offer the world, and help pull that out so that they can actually use that and manage their life day to day. So, it's a lot of it is around resiliency.
Okay, so how do you get your speaking engagements? Do the companies come to you? Do organizations come to you, or do you seek the speaking engagements?
I'd say of late, it's mostly people have been coming to me. So I recently I've spoke to a group of nurses. So it's an association within Alberta. So I've done a speaker series with them. I've done some work in the school system with the teachers. A lot of work in the area of HR and helping HR managers to be able to sort of sort through that return to work and how can they have some conversations that are more in a coaching perspective, as opposed to policy is this and boom, 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 right? Like, so it's a combination.
Have you had a thought of speaking on TEDx? I mean, because it's resiliency is the big superpower here. I think,
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting you asked me that, because I was just one of my friends. She actually has a program now where she's putting together, helping people put together a TEDx talk, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's been on my bucket list. I got to do that. So I will be doing that next year. That's going to happen. Yeah.
That is so cool. I'm so happy for you. So the other thing that you do is, I think you're a course creator also, right? You have, I don't know if you just have things in your mind and build courses that you want to perhaps put online to help with extra income or residual income, or do you just create? I've disappeared again. Oh, there I am. and can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh no.
No, you're here.
We are having technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Anita?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. Yeah.
Anita? Okay. So, Anita.
Yep. Okay, we continue to lose her. I will answer that question as she disappears and maybe comes back to us. Right now, I am working on. I'm developing a course.
Okay, so the question was.
Yeah, I was answering it for you. Keep going. And she's gone. So I'm working on a 7-week program that is, I'm calling it Reach Your Peak. And basically it's really how to plan your extraordinary life and really make it happen. Given what's where we've been with the pandemic over the last year, things will start to open up a little bit. And what I'm noticing is that a lot of people are operating on that reactive mode, anxiety, and it's really hard to focus on and what's next. So I would say there's been a lot of opportunity in COVID where people have really kind of learned a little bit more about who they are. And, families are sitting down together at the dinner table, back to where we were basics, right? And we're starting to have some more conversations, but people are still scared. And so with the program that I'm developing, Reach Your Peak, what we'll be looking at is helping you to sort of create that roadmap for yourself. And the analogy I'm using is like, we're going to go on a hike, and not literally, figuratively, and you will create that map for you. So we'll do a lot of work in the area of what is it that you want to now from here now, where do you want to go? What does that look like for you? You can create your map. You can create that roadmap, that plan for yourself. And then we're going to sort through, when you pack your knapsack, who's with you? And what are you taking with you? And we're going to notice that. And I know when I'm working with my clients now is a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff is starting to come up, given that we're living in that sort of high stress, hyperactive mode. So we're going to have the opportunity to say, okay, you know what? I don't need this anymore. And I don't need this anymore. And let's start to unload that backpack so that you're lighter and you can now continue on your path.
That is
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, what the end result, basically, what I'm looking at is to help people to really wake up and stop coasting. A lot of people said to me, is like, I feel like the last year just disappeared. I was coasting. I want to get out of prison. Yeah. I feel like I've been in prison and I don't know how to get out of it now. Like I have no idea. So that's what I want to help people do, is get out of that prison. Get your hiking boots on. Let's go. And let's find that peak that you're going to go to. And I'm going to help you get there. We are going to get there.
Yeah. Anita, that brings me to the next question. You talk about peaks. I know you're an extreme athlete. I think I'm an athlete. I ran for 17 years, but I know that what you climbed some of the highest mountains. If anybody can teach anything to get anybody to get to a peak, you can, because you've done it. Tell us about that experiences, though, at least the biggest one that you've ever climbed.
Okay, I'm going to try to think of which one do I talk about. I love to trek, and I trek with my girlfriends. But the one you're referring to is when we climbed Kilimanjaro.
Exactly.
And what the interesting part about Kilimanjaro is because it's in feet, it's 19,600 feet. I don't know, meters, it's 6,900 meters, something like that. And when you're up there, the air is really thin and your brain's not functioning very well. And so what our guides did, and that, that's why I like this analogy of the peak, is like, you need to have somebody with you to help guide you along.
You do.
That's where, you know what, I got.
I'm sorry about this difficulty we're having with the internet today. So she will come back on in a moment, but she is awesome the way that she's just taken this and ran with it, even when I disappeared off screen. So let's see if we can get Anita back on screen. Anita, can you hear me? Okay. Let's try something else here. I'm gonna try this.
Fun stuff.
There you go. Oh, now I lost her altogether. This is unbelievable. I've never had this problem with technical difficulties before, so it's a little bit embarrassing. There, I'm sorry, here's your back again.
I'm back. There you go, and it's still recording. Woohoo! Okay, so what we were talking about was Kilimanjaro, and the reference to me is in Africa they say poli poli, and what poli poli means slow. And so literally what we needed to do was one step at a time. And that's how fast we climbed. So we started at midnight. We reached the peak at 8 o'clock in the morning so we could see the sunrise. It was hard. I started to see figures in the rocks, and they were purple and they were red. And I was like, okay, am I hallucinating? I was still okay. And you need to really be careful when you are up in higher altitudes because you can become hypoxic or apoxic, just like you would if you get bends when you scuba dive, right? If anybody is out there is a scuba diver, so you have to be very careful to slowly come back to the surface. And so that one step at a time was challenging to slow down to get the oxygen that we needed to continue on. And it really was mind over matter. And that's when you say, from an athletic perspective, like I've done Ironman as well. And so a big part of it is, you can train your body, absolutely, but you really need to train your brain. Like that is what's going to get you to your peak. That's what's going to keep you continuing is very step by step. And that's where a coach comes in, is having that guide in front of me and the guide behind me. One was pushing me a little bit and the other one was guiding me ahead. Right. So really bringing us to the summit. That was a necessity, and they've been there before. And so they knew the way. And that's also another important piece when you think of from the coaching perspective, right, is finding a coach that resonates with you, but also somebody that's been there down that path before and can help you step by step get to where you want to go.
Right. Well, I just want to, acknowledge Kareem Demir, who has a few comments here. I just want to let you know, Kareem, that yes, we are live, my dear. We're having a few difficulties, but actually, Kareem has asked me to talk a little bit about my experience. And as you were talking about how it's mindset, I recently as yesterday, got my vaccine. Now, I am in Mexico. And what's being offered here in Mexico is the sauna bath. I had no idea what it was. I tried to do my research, and because it was from China, I thought, oh my God, I don't want that one. I want the Johnson Johnson, of course, like everybody wanted, or I want the Pfizer, or I want the Moderna. And I actually was going to take a trip and go to the States and go to the States twice to be inoculated, to be vaccinated. Yeah. And you know what? It was, I said to myself, it was like I had to there was nobody to coach me. I have 3 coaches, but nobody was able to coach me with this. It was like traumatic for me, because it was a matter of setting my mind that this is all in your mind, Lucy. The vaccination would not be here. They wouldn't have vaccinated millions of people with this vaccination in China, or I know they used it in Sweden, they used it in Brazil. It's got to be okay, And I actually got myself at 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. I thought they were closing around 6. I grabbed my housekeeper and I said, let's go get it vaccinated. And I am so glad that I did. After I did it, I was like, okay. It was like, it was traumatic for me.
Yeah. Yes.
And I had to take one step at a time, because I had to investigate going to the States, doing that, how I would do it, and I'm just talking about that experience because it was a life experience that got in my way, my business way. And I just, I thought, if you're going to be helping somebody else, take the next step, then you have to learn how to take it. And I just had to really put my 2 feet on, realize that I could do this too. And that it was probably limiting beliefs on my part that the Chinese vaccination was not as good as the other vaccination. So we're having trouble connecting again. Thank you, Kareem, for your question. And I want to acknowledge James also, who has joined us from North Carolina. We have Winnie Ali from also, who has joined us. And I don't know if you are still with us, and thank you for being with us and for putting up with this situation. I have no idea what is happening.
Oh, goodness. And she's gone again. So, Karima, how do you know Lucy? You want to just chat there in the box there? And Winnie Ellie, where are you calling from? I think that we lost her again. So, James, how do you know Lucy? Chat away, peoples. Show us a little loving. I think she might be coming back, or maybe not. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, here I am back. I could hear you, and thank you. You're a trooper. You are a trooper. You can take chaos and you can make it calmness. You just proved it so many times. Unbelievable.
That's all good.
I've never had this trouble before. Well, James and I met online also. I don't know. I think the StreamYard, you have to allow them to use your name so that you can be live, because Kareem said, are we live or not? And so,
Yeah.
So anyway, so I met him online also, and we recently had an interview about a few weeks back. And also, he was in corporate America. James, I don't know if you can talk for yourself, and if you can, then I'll let you tell the story. And so he also left corporate America, felt unfulfilled, knew that there was something more to life than what he had been doing for years, and became a transformational coach, and is so much happier now. And you never give up. I mean, age is just a number. There'll always be goals. There'll always be desires. We're meant to expand. We're meant to express ourselves. We're meant to be out there with people, to give our message. And I know that you agree, because that's what you're doing big time, Anita.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting you say about leaving corporate America or corporate period. It's a hard step to take when you're getting paid and maybe there's pension involved, but you're not fulfilled. And then you kind of wonder, it's like, what am I going to do? Like, can I do it? Whew, this is, I'm too old for this. I'm washed up. And a lot of people have that sense, is like
limiting beliefs,
right?
Yeah.
And so leaving all of that behind and taking some time to just really sort of figure out, like, what is it that what gift do you have to offer? What can you continue on to do that is going to fill this up? And I have to say, like, the best thing I did was leaving my corporate job. Like, that was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I there's a lot of people that might be out there that they have lost their job as a result of COVID, or they feel like they're stuck in this job because of COVID or because of the pandemic. But really, there's so much opportunity out there. Really, there is. Yeah.
And I love what I do, because I give people the opportunity to start an online business with a wonderful Done For You program, because so many people go online saying, oh my God, what can I do? The first time I went online, I thought business was e-commerce. And I got into e-commerce immediately for 2 years, and the best website, the best courses, the best guru to teach me. And when it came time to launch, oh my God, I panicked. I went, what am I doing? I don't want to work with products. I want to work with people.
Yeah.
It was like 360 for me, you know? And that,
Right? Life is on.
right. And I got into what I'm doing now, which is wonderful. And for me, my target audience are mostly women over 60, mostly single women, because women over 60, the baby boomers, when you're single, it's different than when you're married because you have a husband to support you. When you're single, it's all up to you. And you know, yeah, absolutely. And today you can't depend on your Social Security. You can just barely pay your bills. So if you want the life that you want to live, then you have got to, you know, take care of this for yourself. And there's no better business than online business. Now it's not, you know, it's not get rich overnight. That's for sure. I've been doing this for now. What I'm doing right now with working with people, you have to so much learning, but I love it. I love it because I look at it with curiosity and I'm learning all the time. And here I am at 75. If I can do it at 75, anybody can do it, you know? So I love what you're doing.
Go.
So anyway, tell me,
Yeah.
oh no, Anita, this was going to be my biggest question to you. What is, if you can hear me, what do you consider?
She stopped. What do I consider? What? Type it in the chat. Oh my goodness, this is interesting. I'm curious to know what you're asking me, and it is my biggest challenge, she was talking about being single and being in this world, and we lost her again. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. I am on my own, and my boys, as Lucy mentioned earlier, I have 2 boys. They're grown up. They're out of the house too. So, you know, it's about me and what am I doing for myself, and it's time to take care of me. And I noticed that too with whoever's out there, if you are an entrepreneur, as I mentioned earlier, is like you got to take care of yourself. And, you know, that's a big message that when I'm teaching mental health is that self-care piece is so, so critical. Because if you're pouring from an empty vessel, there's nothing to give, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's,
your why is so important. I feel like Houdini, out and in and out. I've never had this experience, but you know what? It's all part of being alive, isn't it? I just want to say, Anita, you have been a trooper. I tell you, you're resilient for sure. I mean, you know, most people would have just said, "Bye, I'm out of here," but you just carried on, and you just carried on without me. So, we talked about, you know, so what's next for you? I know that your course is a big thing. I know you blog too. You have a blog, right?
Yeah, I've kind of been on and off-ish. That it's interesting. You know, I've kind of been that mix of how much do I really want to grow? Like, you know, I'm hitting the big 60 this year, and I know I don't look a day over 40. So
no, you don't.
And it's like, what's next in life for me? I still want to do the work that I do. I still want to expand a little bit, but I really want to play too. Like, play hard and work hard. That's sort of my motto. And if you don't, what's the point in all this, right? If you don't have some fun while you're doing this, then what is the point, right? So I guess where I want to go is I want to continue to launch my group programs, because I'm at capacity right now. Is like reaching out to more people in a group setting is going to be helpful for me to be able to reach out to more people, because I can't do more now without cloning myself. So, you know, that becomes a challenge, and you would know as you're building your business, right? It's like how much more, right? That you can give. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
thank you, and I want to thank Kareem, who's coming in from Turkey he's joining us, and he's in Turkey, and so we're both. He's having a little bit of problems with his internet also. So thank you, Kareem, for staying with us and asking your wonderful questions. So So if anybody, now I know that you and I talked about a little freebie for my audience if they stay till the very end. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, what I will offer your audience is a complimentary one-on-one chat with Anita, and it's 30 minutes of whatever resonated with you today. So if you really feel like you're that person that you're having conversations with people and nobody's listening to you, or you don't know what the next step is for you, you may be feeling down, depressed, anxious. What do I do with this COVID? What's next for me? You know, part of it is that are your relationships breaking up around you? Like you used to have a great relationship and now there's nothing. And part of that's a relationship with yourself as well. Then I invite you to connect with me. And, you know, whether or not you work with me, what's nice is that we can sort of sit down and say, okay, where are you at right now? Like, what is going on for you? And is there some pieces maybe of trauma that's coming up for you, or stuff that you're stuck? And really tease that out and say, okay, what's next? What's this next move? And you are gone, or you here, or what? So you can contact me. My website is anitawatts.ca. I am in Canada, and my email address is actually not what's up there. It's Anita at.
So Anita, I don't know if you're talking still.
Yeah, I am. I'm still here. If you can plug in, I'll just give you if somebody wants to.
So Anita, I of course I hear myself. I can't hear you.
Okay. And she's gone. Anyway, so if anybody wants to reach out to me, you've got my website, or my email is anita@livetoyourpotential.com. Anita at LIVE, the number 2, yourpotential.com. So fire me an email. Let me know where you heard me, that it was on this particular live, and we can connect. And I would love to help you out. And I'm trying to put my link in the comments, Lucy, but I don't know.
Well, in this particular here, it says to contact Anita Watts, go to anitawatts.ca. Remember, she's in Canada. It's not, so it's CA, or www at live.
Actually,
your potential.
It's not www. It's Anita at livetoyourpotential.com.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
like little Anita in front of that.
You know what I'm going to ask you to do, Anita, after we say goodbye. In the comments after, could you please put, in order to reach me for that strategy call or whatever, contact me here, and we'll do it that way. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you for all of you who have joined us today. James and Winnie, and there's somebody else who I can't read because it says Facebook user. So I want to thank you for your time, Anita. It's been a delight to speak with you. Thank you for that wonderful gift that you're giving my audience. And we will keep in touch. And so what I want to say is thank you for your time and your sweetness and your resiliency.
Yay. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to see you again face to face. We'll keep connecting, I'm sure.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll keep it going. And so what I want to say to my audience, thank you for being so patient with this internet I felt like Houdini today several times. And if you are interested in telling your story and wanting to be interviewed, contact me, message me, and we'll make that happen. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Cheers.